For many blues, being in love makes them feel more alive. Golds have a motto, and it's be prepared. Greens are innovative. They like to problem solve, fix things, and figure things out. Oranges are spontaneous and impulsive. They like to do things now. With all these differences and different way of doing things, how do we bring out the best in each other instead of driving each other crazy? That is the power of knowing your true colors. So I have a question for you. Raise your hand if you've ever noticed that people do things differently than you would in the same situation. So let's apply this to being on time. How many of you are usually on time or even early for things? Raise your hand. Okay, and how many of you have stretchier timelines? Maybe you set appointments in 10-ish or around 10 o'clock. Are people like that? Now, can you be on time? Yes. Of course we can. It just takes a little more effort. It's kind of like writing with the non-dominant hand. You have to concentrate more, right? And how many of you have ever vowed, I am going to be on time, and you set the alarm clock early? Has that ever happened? And so you set the alarm clock early and you think, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be on time and I'm going to impress everybody in the office. So you get up and you're working on stuff and, oh wow, you've got plenty of time, right? So maybe you'll just check that one email or maybe just fold this laundry basket or something. But oh, nope, you get back on track, right? And so you're going along and you get in the car and you're so triumphant. You look at your watch and go, wow, I am 20 minutes early. 20 minutes early. You're so impressed and triumphant. And then it hits you. Wow, 20 minutes. What could I do in 20 minutes? What could you do in 20 minutes on the way to work? You think, stop and get some coffee? Look at that. I could get an oil change. It says 10 minutes in and out. So you stop, you get the oil changed, and then what happens? You're late. So there is just something about the way that our personalities that are put together that is in our nature and some that we've learned. And so if we practice and practice, of course we can be on time. We have to be able to hold down jobs, but it might not be in our nature. This is key to keep in mind. Let's identify our own true colors. Let's find out those unique personality traits that are the combination that make up our personality style. And we'll also start to recognize the true colors of others. So right now we're just working with the blues. Optimistic. They can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Things can be falling apart around them and they will cheer people on and say things like, come on, we're pulling together on this. We can get through this budget crunch. We can find a new job that fits your personality. We can do this. So they'll be there to cheer you on. They're also very, very people optimistic. They will give someone another chance and another chance, even if they've been let down. As a matter of fact, they could get some advice from a friend who says, oh my goodness, how many times have they failed you? Kick that person to the curb, get them out of your life. Oh my goodness. And they'll say, oh, but you know what? They paid back part of the money before I lent them more. Very people optimistic. On to the golds. Follows rules. So you're in the express lane, and many times it says 10 items or less, cash only. So if a gold were to get into the express lane, how many items would they have in their basket? 10 or less, exactly. Sometimes they budget only 9 just to make sure that they're not going over the limit, right? So they have their 10 or less, and they're getting in line, and there are a couple people with their 10 or less, and their 10 or less, and just as they're getting in line, somebody swoops in with a cart full of groceries. Now, sure looks like it's a lot more than 10 items, right? So what do? I mean, how can you tell? You're looking at the groceries and think, wow, that looks like more than 10 items. How can you tell? Count them. Raise your hand if you've ever counted someone else's groceries. Seriously. You're looking like 28? 28 items? Oh my gosh, that is clearly a violation. So now it's time to make a decision. What do you do? They're clearly violating the rules. What do you do next? Tell them. Raise your hand if you would tell them. You would directly tell them. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you would do it a little more covertly. Maybe you'll say something to the checker. Excuse me, this is an express lane, right? 10 items or less to be in this lane? Yeah. Okay, I thought so. But even with all your efforts to be able to help guide them on their path, right? The checker checks them out anyways. But not only do they check them out, but then what does that person start doing? A checkbook. It's like, oh, wait. 10 items only, cash only, and yet they're writing a check. And they're not even writing a check the way a gold would write a check. If a gold were in the correct line to write a check, how do they write a check? In advance. They have everything filled out, right? They have what? What goes in there? The date, the name of the store, the signature, it's already signed, and they're waiting for what? The amount. That's it. But oh no, not only do they have more than 10 items, they write a check. So a gold might be thinking to themselves, I'm not so sure that I even want to shop at this store anymore. If they have a rule, they should enforce it. Why? Greens like to ask why. Why are we doing this activity? Why are we discussing this topic? Why do we have to go to this meeting anyway? At work, maybe the copy machine breaks down. You tell a blue style, and they'll say, oh, I feel for you. How frustrating when it breaks down, when you're in the middle of a project like that. But you tell a green style, and they'll say, why? What'd you do? Like, what do you mean what I do? I didn't do anything. Well, if you weren't doing anything, then how do you know the copy machine is broken? Well, I just pressed the button. Were you stapling? Were you duplexing? Were you collating? Now, you may feel interrogated, but what is the green trying to do? Right, get the information so they can figure it out. What they do is they dive right over the empathy part, the oh darn, how frustrating part, and they get right to the information. Give me the info so I can solve the problem. Pushes boundaries. This is key for the oranges. How many of you noticed there are different personalities on the highway? And people drive differently, different driving habits. We'll start with the golds this time. Now, let's say they're getting ready to exit the highway, dividing off, and they have to merge onto another highway. And there's a long line. Maybe it's a mile long. Where do you think the golds get in line? Oh, yes, they get in the back because those are the rules. You want to get in the back of the line and you wait your turn, right? Now, the blues, not only will they get in the back of the line, but what else? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Have a nice day. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, it seems like they keep moving backwards, as a matter of fact. So the greens, they're a little more strategic. That is, if they're even paying attention. They like to listen to talk radio a lot. So they're listening. And they might say, okay, I'm not getting in the back of the line, but you know what? I do notice there's a semi-truck up there. I bet you when the line moves, it will bog just momentarily. And so they'll glide right in. They have their strategy, and they'll go on their way. Now, oranges. Do they get in the back of the line? No. Do they get in the middle of the line? Oh no, especially if you're a passenger, you may get worried, right? You're like, there's our exit, there's our exit. I know. Bam! Right before it turns solid, right? And there's that adrenaline rush. Because that's the first step, is to identify your color style. Step 2 in the process is to clarify. Pay close attention as each group reports out to clarify. What are their intentions? What is the motivation behind their behaviors? What is misunderstood about them? Because they're going to clear it up for you. At the beginning of the program, I asked you to imagine the people that you interact with. And I know perhaps it's crossed your mind, or maybe you've even shared it with someone, that if only they would change, oh, my life would be so much better. What if instead you gained a new perspective that allowed them to be them and you to be you, and your relationship improved?